So the question that we're asking ourselves is, by 2015, are we going to be able to feed 10 billion human beings? Well, the questions I'd like to ask you is, how many human beings are we able to feed right now? Are we able to feed 7 billions, 9 billions, or 10 billions? Well, actually, there are 12 billion people that we can feed with the current production. We produce more than 4,000 calories per day per inhabitant when we consummate, when we need about 2,000 per human being. So how do we produce enough food? Well, because 795 million people still 795 million people still suffer from hunger, but on the same time, 600 million adults are obese. So there is this gap between the too much and the too little food and inequality. You have this unbalance. So if we have a closer look at children, there are 100 million children underweight, when 40 million children are overweight or obese. And I think this should really call our attention. Well, I'm a mother myself, and when we talk about children, we were all deeply moved by the little Syrian boy on that beach, the picture that we all saw. You know, I'm the president of Action contre la faim, and I was trying to envisage a beach with 3 million children lying there, underfed, underweight, and I was unable to picture that. But you have to know that those 3 million children die every year of hunger, and we should be revolted by that. We should really wake up the activists in ourselves, the activists, and we need to do something to change this. Well, there is less hungry people in the world. There are still progress have been made, but those progresses are unequal. Eastern Asia and Southeast Asia, notably China, have made a lot of progress. This is the case also in Latin America, notably in Brazil. But at the same time, Sub-Saharan Africa, 1/4 of the population is underfed, and in the Caribbean, it's as high as 20%. So progress are being made, but not at the same rate, at the same speed everywhere. In 1919, between 1 billion and 195 million people and 795 million, we see that less people suffer from hunger, but still, again, progresses need to be made. So how can we stop hunger? How can we eradicate hunger? There are solutions, but there are challenges as well. Urbanization, climate change, humanitarian crisis of natural origin or human origin, the grabbing of land, armed conflicts and displaced population. And this reality is right here at our borders, and also the pandemics and epidemics. So we were talking about urbanization. 56% of human beings live in cities. By 2013, that will be close to 70%. But this is not going to happen uniformly on the planet. It's mainly in Africa that urbanization is going to be ramping. And this urbanization, this will not be comfortable houses with electricity and heating. That will be this type of shed of shelters. And you can envisage those people, sanitary conditions are very poor, they don't have access to food, and those people are going to be hungry. Then consequences of natural catastrophes. I'm not going to analyze the entire slide, but I'd like to draw your attention to the bottom here. 87% of those catastrophes are the direct consequence of climate change, and they cost 1.4 for trillions dollars in the last years. 1.7 billion people affected by those catastrophes. And when you are affected by this, so 13% earthquakes, but those people are displaced. Those are those people displaced because of climate change, and the consequence of this is food uncertainty. So this translates in this: either too much water or too little water, water becoming more salty, and this has been demonstrated that climate change has the biggest impact on the peasants, the most vulnerable in Africa. And they have no impact, they have no role to play in climate change. So it's completely it's something that it's unfair. Land grabbing, it's a scandal. It's a silent scandal. You know that there are hectares and thousands of hectares or millions of hectares that are sold, that are grabbed by foreign companies which purchase those lands for hydrocarbons, for oil, and so basically they grab those lands to produce fuel, and they're no longer used to produce food. And to counterbalance that, farmers are deforesting other lands to use them to grow some food. So this is a vicious circle. Armed conflicts. There are 6 crises which are rated level 3 by the United Nations. If you remove the Ebola consequences, we never had that many human crises at the same time in the last time. So thousands of population, internal refugees, external refugees, millions of people trying to find shelter for security reasons, and they leave everything behind. And obviously you can easily imagine the state of the countries which are destroyed by those armed conflicts. You're not going to harvest your fields. You're not going to the market when you're right in the middle of this armed conflicts. This creates unsafety. This creates difficult situation to find food, and tens of thousands of people are pressing against or are coming to our borders to try and find shelter. You probably remember that the Ebola virus killed thousands of people, and it also killed lots of physicians taking care of people. It really destroyed the healthcare systems. And in those countries, you have to know that almost all children are underweight, don't have enough vitamins, and are treated for a delay in delayed growth, and they no longer go to the hospital or to the GP. Well, either because the GP is dead or because you don't want to get the Ebola virus. So the system is completely disruptive, and also those people don't harvest, and once again there is an impact on the entire chain, on the entire supply chain. So it's not a problem of food. We are able to produce to feed 12 billion human beings today, but simply that food is not correctly distributed. I'm going to show you now a number of levers, a number of solutions which have helped to reduce hunger. There are political levers: growth, development of social safety, and promotion of better schemes for access to water and hygiene. I'm going to talk about China. China was able to remove 155 million people out of hunger. It is true that thanks to strong growth, China was able to alleviate that situation and to create a middle class. This creates a virtuous situation, but this is not enough. If we compare with India, they have a major growth as well, but hunger doesn't really diminishes. Another case, which is extremely interesting, is the case of Brazil. There is a program which is called Fome Zero, associated to another program called Bolsa Familia. This is a holistic approach with a number of measures which are targeted to the most vulnerable, increased by 25% of the revenues of the poorest, access to water, microcredit, very targeted measures in order to help the poorest among the poorest. So the GDP has really been, part of the GDP has really been targeted at alleviating this problem. So the hunger disappeared from Brazil. So 20 million in the 90s to zero today. So it works when there is political will. I would like to talk about this for hours. I don't have time, but I'm sure that there will be speeches about this later. Agroecology is one of the solutions. You produce enough to feed yourself and your family and the community, and it helps you get out of starvation. The smaller farmers are the ones who produce 70% of what we eat, but they are starving. So it's a scandal. And if we are doing what is requested to do what is necessary, we can change this. So yes, we are able to feed 10 billion human beings, and we have enough to feed 12 billion. There are levers. Those levers are political levers. This means it is between our hands. We need to put enough pressures on the policymakers so that they take the right measures to remove hunger. This is possible. Brazil did this, and we need to react, because it is impossible that 3 million children die of hunger, starve to death every year. As Jan Ziegler said, hunger is man-made. It can also be removed by men. It's not something that there's nothing we can do against. We have to. It is our duty. We need to be the generation. We will stop hunger. Thank you.